If you need a recap on Red Rising or any of the first 5 books in the series, then this video is your starting point. I am compiling old recap videos that I had on the other site, and I'm putting them all on here together as one video per book videos. So in book 1, we learned that reds are at the bottom of the society, golds are at the top, and in between are different roles for different colors. Darrow and all the other Reds think that they are basically doing important work to terraform Mars so that people can live there. Turns out that happened like 300 years ago, and Reds are basically just kept in the dark below the surface as slave labor to keep pumping out this important gas. So Darrow gets his kind of like villain origin story when his wife Io gets hung for singing a forbidden song. He has to be the one to pull her feet to break her neck. And then after that, he wants to bury her body. And because of doing that, he is punished by then being hung. But his uncle doesn't pull him hard enough to actually kill him. So he ends up being buried and then picked up by the Sons of Ares. It's also important to note that Io's hanging was recorded and also broadcast amongst like all colors, like the whole society. So she is becoming a martyr in the background of the story. So the Sons of Ares are this organization that wants to topple the golds from the inside out. So they take Darrow and they carve him into a gold. So physically he looks like a gold. I think even on the DNA level, he's supposed to be a gold. He shits all over their test. He only gets one question wrong. He also kills it at their physical tests. So he gets into this institute and he gets put into House Mars. So it's important to note 2 very prominent gold families that are enemies to each other are House Bologna and House Augustus. The arch-governor belongs to House Augustus, and he's also the one who hung Darrow's wife. Unfortunately, right when they get to the school, Darrow has to kill Cassius's brother to get entry. Everybody had to kill someone. But nobody knows who killed who, so he keeps that a secret from Cassius for as long as possible. So the Institute is essentially like the Hunger Games, except each house is like a nation, and you're waging war on the other houses and trying to steal their idol, and the idol is something you could use to enslave other students. So apparently House Mars never wins because they're a bunch of hotheads, and we see this very early on. The house splits into like 3 tribes, so you have Darrow and Cassius, and then a couple other members, and then Titus, who actually turns out is also a carved red, but he's like unhinged. He's like brutalizing golds throughout the book. He has kind of the more like hardened, creepy, frankly, characters. And then Antonia fucks off somewhere with some characters as well. So Cassius and Darrow are kind of killing it. One of the coolest things they do, in my opinion, is they're trying to take over, I think it's House Minerva. And they know that House Minerva is going to be really skeptical of anyone coming up to them. So the night before, they hit a bunch of students in the carcasses of dead horses. And then when the Minervans come out, they bust their way out of the horses and take over the house. And in that house is someone named Mustang. So Darrow had met Mustang previously. She made fun of him when he fell off of a horse, so that's part of why her nickname is Mustang. So yeah, Cassius and Darrow take over House Minerva, but Darrow actually lets Mustang escape. And then here's where things quickly start to go to shit for Darrow. He, this whole time, has been hiding that he killed Cassius's brother. And Cassius and him have been really getting close. Like, Cassius actually calls him his new brother. And as a reader, you're like, oh, because you know it's not going to last. And it doesn't. Cassius ends up getting a holo of Darrow killing his brother. So then Cassius, like, lies, like, hey, Darrow, we found someone, and stabs him in the stomach to kill him. And he declares them as, like, blood enemies. So he's left for dead. But because he spared Mustang earlier, she finds him and then nurses him back to health. So all this time, Darrow's also realizing that the proctors are definitely playing favorites. So this is like a rigged game. And they really want the arch-governor's son, who's dubbed the Jackal, to win. The Jackal, we only know that he's scary, he did some shit. Turns out he ate students, there was a cave-in, and the only way to survive was to eat people. Amongst this time, also, there's a group being formed called the Howlers. Severo leads it. They kill wolves, wear the wolf pelts, hence the Howlers. Severo's also missing an eye from a run-in with the Jackal. So Darrow and Mustang and Severo and the Howlers are doing pretty good at this point. They're building up their own little army. They're using their own standard to enslave students. And then when they like help them take over another house, they unenslave them. So they're definitely building up. Darrow pieces together that Fitchner, who's the proctor for House Mars, is Severo's father. So along this time frame, everyone's getting pretty close. Darrow's actually getting feelings for Mustang. There's also a character named Pax, who's like this gentle giant who's really loyal to Mustang, who's become friends with Darrow. They had to kill a bear to give him a pelt because a wolf isn't big enough. And things are looking up until they're not. So Darrow has a run-in with the famed Jackal. He stabs his hand into a table, gives him an ultimatum, and to his horror, he does cut off his own arm, and he also kills Pax and then escapes. So then Darrow and co take on Olympus, which is where the Proctors are. He wrecks their shit, takes them over, and then heads back to House Mars, takes over them, and then Mustang is like, oh, I'll go take care of the Jackal. And he's like, great, okay, you go do that. And then Fitchner is like, you realize she's the twin sister of the Jackal, right? And Darrow is like, fuck. But she was loyal to Darrow, hands over her brother, and Darrow wins the whole thing. So the goal of winning the Institute is to be sponsored by Prominent Gold. Since Darrow is now a blood enemy to the Bolognas, he ends up deciding to keep his enemies very close and signs a deal with the devil to be sponsored by the Arch-Governor.